We tell ourselves stories about family, stories of unbreakable bonds, unconditional love, a safe harbor in the storms of life. The Bible, for many, is a source of these ideal families. But when you look closer, past the stained glass windows and the Sunday school lessons, you find something else entirely, something far more real and far more human. You find families that are psychological minefields. This is the story of one such family. A father who openly played favorites, multiple mothers, rivals, competing for his affection, and 10 older brothers, their hearts curdled by a venomous envy. It was a perfect storm, a recipe for absolute disaster. This is the story of Joseph. But it's not just a story from thousands of years ago. If you've ever felt like an outsider in your own home, if you've ever been the target of a sibling's rage, or felt the sting of a parent's neglect, then Joseph's story isn't just ancient history. It's a mirror. It's a mirror. In T's series, we're going to dissect this ancient family drama, not with theology, but with the sharp tools of modern psychology. We'll explore family systems theory, the deep roots of trauma, and the corrosive nature of narcissism. We'll uncover how the very people who were supposed to protect a young boy became his first and most brutal abusers. This isn't just about what happened to Joseph. It's about understanding the anatomy of betrayal and why families break. The family unit is our first social world. It's where we learn the rules of love, of safety, of belonging. But what happens when that world is toxic? In Joseph's family, the toxicity flowed from the top down, from the patriarch, Jacob. The text is brutally honest. Israel loved Joseph more than any of his other sons. This wasn't a subtle preference. It was a blatant, public declaration. And it had a symbol. A coat. We often picture it as a silly, rainbow-colored thing. But that's a misunderstanding. In the ancient world, a garment like this, intricately woven, dyed with expensive colors, was a status symbol. It was like giving one child a brand new luxury car while the others have to walk. This coat wasn't a gift of love. It was a wedge. In family systems theory, Thesis Kajed triangulation. Jacob, unable or unwilling to manage the complex emotions of his family, inserted Joseph between himself and his other sons. Joseph became the golden child, the symbol of his father's special love. And in doing so, Jacob didn't just elevate Joseph, he painted a target on his back. The brothers' reaction wasn't just simple jealousy. The Bible says they hated him and could not speak a peaceful word to him. This is a deeper, more sinister emotion, pathological envy. Envy isn't just I want what you have. It's I hate you for having what I want, and I want to destroy you because of it. Joseph's dreams, where his family bowed down to him, only added fuel to this raging fire. He wasn't just the favorite. He was broadcasting his perceived superiority. For the brothers, simmering in their father's neglect, each dream was another twist of the knife. The stage was set. The rage had been building for years. All it needed was an opportunity. And then, the opportunity arrives. Dothan, an isolated place, far from the watchful eye of their father. Jacob sends Joseph to check on his brothers. He walks into a trap. This wasn't a crime of passion, a sudden burst of anger. It was calculated. The moment they see him in the distance, the conspiracy begins. Here comes that dreamer. They sneer. Let's kill him. The first thing they do is rip the coat from his body. It's a symbolic act. They are stripping him of his identity, of the very thing that marked him as special. They are making him one of them, forgotten and worthless in their father's eyes. Then, they throw him into an empty a pit. Imagine the sensory experience, the sudden fall, the suffocating darkness, the claustrophobia, the cold, damp earth. Looking up, seeing only a sliver of sky, framed by the faces of his own brothers. This is a profound neurobiological shock. His nervous system would have been flooded with cortisol and adrenaline. The fight-or-flight response, with nowhere to fly, nowhere to fight. This is the definition of betrayal trauma. The deepest, most damaging form of psychological injury, inflicted not by an enemy, but by those you are biologically wired to trust. And what do the brothers do while their younger sibling is screaming for his life from a hole in the ground? The Bible tells us they sat down to eat a meal. The chilling indifference. The complete dehumanization. They no longer see him as a brother. He's an object, a problem to be disposed of. This is the moment Joseph's old life dies. The boy who was loved, the dreamer, the favorite son that Joseph is gone forever, buried in the darkness of the pit. This is where the trauma cycle is born. The wound that will shape the rest of his life is carved into his soul. Then, a caravan appears on the horizon. A new idea sparks. Why stain their hands with his blood when they can profit from his disappearance? Judah, the pragmatist, suggests selling him. For 20 pieces of silver, the price of a slave, Joseph's fate is sealed. He is hauled out of the pit, not into the arms of repentant brothers, but into the hands of foreign slave traders. He is bound and dragged away toward Egypt, toward a life he cannot possibly imagine. He has lost his home, his family, his name, his status, and his safety. Everything that defined him has been violently torn away. But the journey into the depths of trauma is just beginning. The darkest part isn't the terror of the pit. It's what comes after. It's the long, silent march to Egypt. It's the moments when the adrenaline fades and the crushing reality of his new existence sets in. He is no longer Joseph, son of Jacob. He is property, a thing to be bought and sold. How do you survive that? How do you hold on to any sense of self when your entire identity has been obliterated? This is the crucible that will either forge him into something stronger or shatter him completely. The boy is gone. Now, a slave must learn to endure. But the physical journey to Egypt is nothing compared to the psychological battle ahead. Because when you lose your name, your clothes, and your freedom, what is left? How do you keep your sanity when the world tries to erase you? Let's enter the second circle of trauma. The crisis of identity. Stripped of his coat, his family, his very name. Joseph arrives in Egypt not as a dreamer, but as cargo. Picture the scene. A slave auction block. Under the searing sun, he is paraded, prodded, and priced. This isn't just physical bondage. It's a calculated psychological assault. It's dehumanization. He is no longer Joseph, son of Jacob. He is an object, a piece of property. For most, this is the end of the story. The spirit shatters, giving way to a state psychologists call learned helplessness. You accept your fate. You give up. The world has told you that you are nothing, and you start to believe it. But Joseph does something remarkable. He refuses to internalize his new status. Inside, where no one can touch him, he remains Joseph. While his body is enslaved, his mind is not. He is sold to Potiphar, a high-ranking official, captain of Pharaoh's guard. And in this opulent, foreign household, Joseph begins to work. He doesn't just go through the motions. He applies himself with ferocious discipline. He learns the language, the culture, the systems. This isn't just about survival. It's a psychological masterpiece called sublimation. He channels all his pain, his grief, his rage, into productive, focused effort. He isn't just cleaning floors. He's rebuilding his sense of self, one task at a time. And people notice. Soon, Potiphar entrusts him with everything. The slave who was bought as an object now manages the entire estate. He has risen from the ashes, not by magic, but by sheer force of will and integrity. He has proven that you can be stripped of everything, but you can choose who you are on the inside. Just when a fragile sense of stability returns, a new, more insidious test appears. It comes in the form of Potiphar's wife. We often frame this as a simple story of lust, a moral tale about resisting temptation. But it's so much deeper than that. It's about power and identity. Look at it from Joseph's perspective. Isa slave, utterly powerless. He owns nothing, not even his own body. Every waking moment is dictated by others. Now, this woman, the second most powerful person in the household, approaches him. Her proposition isn't just about a physical act. It's an offer of a secret alliance, a shortcut to influence and control. Sleep with me, she's implicitly saying. And you gain a powerful ally. You step out of the shadows. You reclaim some of the power that was stolen from you. For someone who has lost everything, The allure of control is the ultimate temptation. It's a chance to finally stop being a pawn and become a player. But Joseph refuses. He asks, "How then can I do this great wickedness and sin against God?" His refusal isn't just about religious piety. It's a profound declaration of self. In the face of immense pressure, he holds on to the one thing they couldn't take from him: his integrity. His character was the last piece of his true identity, the only part of himself that was still his own. Giving that up even for the promise of power would have been the final, true act of enslavement. He chose to remain a slave in body rather than become a slave in spirit. His rejection unleashes a fury. It's a classic case of narcissistic rage. Her ego is wounded, her power challenged. So she flips the script. The perpetrator becomes the victim, and the victim becomes the villain. She holds up his garment, the evidence of his presence, and weaves a lie. She accuses him of the very crime he refused to commit. Psychologists today have a term for this tactic: Darvo, deny, attack, and reverse victim and offender. It's a chillingly effective form of manipulation. Potiphar, caught between his wife's word and his trust in Joseph, makes his choice. Justice is swift and brutal. Joseph is thrown into prison. Let the weight of this injustice sink in. He did everything right to work it hard. He maintained his integrity. He resisted temptation. And for all of it, he was punished. This is the moment that breaks most people. The realization that the universe is not fair, that doing good doesn't guarantee a good outcome. He has now fallen even lower than before. He's not just a slave in a wealthy house. He's a criminal in a dark, forgotten dungeon. Deeper than the pit his brothers threw him into. How does faith survive this? Where is God when the righteous suffer and the wicked prosper? The silence from heaven must have been deafening. He is forgotten, locked away in the royal prison, a place for the king's enemies. The days blur into weeks, the weeks into years. The initial shock and anger fade, replaced by something far more dangerous. This is where the real darkness sets in. Not the sudden, sharp darkness of fear, but the slow, creeping darkness of despair. It's the slow erosion of hope. This is not a pit. This is the waiting room, a place where time itself becomes the torture, and the greatest battle is fought not against guards or chains, but against the crushing void of hopelessness that even in the void doth dart. The story isn't over, because prison is not just a place of punishment, it is a place of preparation. Let's enter the third chapter. The long wait, darkness, cold stone, the slow drip of water echoing in the silence. This is Joseph's new reality. Stripped of his authority, falsely accused, and thrown into a dungeon. Yet, the scriptures repeat a phrase that seems almost paradoxical. The Lord was with Joseph. 4 times we're told this. But wait a minute. If God was truly with him, why wasn't he delivered? Why was he languishing in a forgotten hole in the ground? This forces us to re-examine our understanding of God's presence. We often equate it with comfort, with prosperity, with the absence of pain. But Joseph's story offers a different perspective. Here, God's presence doesn't mean an escape from suffering. It means the strength to endure it. It's not about removing the burden, but about building the resilience to carry it. There's a modern psychological concept for this, known as the Stockdale paradox. It's named after Admiral James Stockdale, who survived years as a prisoner of war. The paradox is this: you must maintain unwavering faith that you will prevail in the end, regardless of the difficulties. And at the same time, you must confront the most brutal facts of your current reality, whatever they might be. This is Joseph. He doesn't deny his situation. He's in a prison, and it's unjust. He feels the weight of it every single day. The passing of seasons marked only by a sliver of light from a high window. The monotony of the days, perhaps scratched into the stone wall. These are the brutal facts. Yet, through it all, he never loses faith that his story isn't over. He holds on to the belief that there is a purpose, a future beyond these walls. This isn't blind optimism. It's a deep, resilient hope forged in the heart of despair. God's presence wasn't a get-out-of-jail-free card. It was the inner fortitude to remain standing when everything around him had crumbled. In the depths of this despair, it would be easy, even understandable, for Joseph to retreat into himself, to become consumed by bitterness and self-pity. But he does something extraordinary. He looks up and looks out. He notices two new prisoners, Pharaoh's chief cupbearer and chief baker, and he sees that they are dejected. His first instinct isn't to recount his own woes, but to ask them, "Why do you look so sad today?" This is a profound moment. Even in his own profound pain, Joseph extends empathy to others. He shifts his focus from his own suffering to theirs. He listens to their troubling dreams and, using the gift God gave him, he interprets them. One dream foretells restoration, the other, a grim end. He doesn't sugarcoat the truth, but he offers clarity in their confusion. Modern psychology confirms the power of what Joseph did. Altruism, the act of helping others, is one of the most effective antidotes to depression and despair. When we focus our energy on alleviating someone else's burden, we often find our own becomes lighter. By serving the cupbearer and the baker, Joseph wasn't just using his gift. He was saving his own sanity. He was actively fighting against the darkness that threatened to consume him. Instead of letting his talents atrophy in the dungeon, he put them to work. He chose purpose over pity, service over solitude. This act of looking outward kept the flame of his own spirit alive in the darkest of places. It was a declaration that even in chains, his soul was still free. The cupbearer's dream comes true. Just as Joseph predicted, he is restored to his position in Pharaoh's court. Before he leaves, Joseph makes a simple, heartfelt plea. "When all is well with you, show me kindness and mention me to Pharaoh and get me out of this house." It's a flicker of hope, a tangible lifeline. This is Italiano, the way out. The cupbearer, who owes his peace of mind and perhaps his life to Joseph's insight, is now in a position to repay the kindness. Joseph waits. He watches the door, listening for the sound of footsteps, for his name to be called. But the days turn into weeks, the weeks into months. The scripture delivers a heart-wrenching line. Yet the chief cupbearer did not remember Josie. He forgot him. This isn't just a disappointment. It's a second betrayal. First, by his brothers. Now, by the one man who could have been his salvation. This is what psychologists might call re-traumatization. The reopening of an old wound. The hope that had sustained him is suddenly extinguished. The light at the end of the tunnel just went out, and the silence that follows is deafening. 2 more years pass. 2 more years of silence, of waiting, of being forgotten. This is the final, most intense stage of his trial. It's the crucible. This prolonged period of obscurity is where any remaining pride, any last vestige of self-reliance, is burned away. He had relied on his gift, his integrity, and the gratitude of another man. All had failed him. All that is left is a raw, total, and complete dependency on God. He learns the hardest lesson of all. Deliverance doesn't come on our timeline or through our own clever plans. It comes only in God's perfect timing. 2 years. 2 years. 730 days of silence. And then, one morning, the quiet is broken by the sound of hurried footsteps and the grating of a key in the lock. The prison door swings open. Not because Joseph banged on it, not because the cupbearer finally remembered, but because Pharaoh, the most powerful man in the world, had a dream that troubled his spirit, a dream that none of his wise men or magicians could solve. The waiting is over. The test is complete. The forgotten prisoner is about to be summoned to the palace. From the darkness of a dungeon to the blinding light of the Egyptian sun, in what feels like a single heartbeat, Joseph's world is turned upside down. One moment, he's a forgotten prisoner in chains. The next, he's standing before Pharaoh, the most powerful man on earth. His chains are struck off, but new ones, made of gold, are placed around his neck. The rough prisoner's garb is replaced with fine linen. The hair and beard that marked him as a Hebrew are shaved away, conforming him to the Egyptian standard of cleanliness and high society. This isn't just a change of clothes, it's a radical, psychological shift. He is given a new name, Zaphanath Paneah, a name that echoes in the Egyptian courts, erasing the Hebrew name his mother gave him. Pharaoh gives him a wife, Asenath, the daughter of a high-ranking priest. An Egyptian wife, an Egyptian name, an Egyptian life. He is systematically severing every tie to his past. He's building a new identity, not just to adapt to his new but to build a fortress around his wounded heart. This isn't integration, it's amputation. He's cutting off the parts of himself that hurt the most, hoping that by burying his old self, he can also bury the pain. He's putting on a mask, a beautiful, powerful, golden mask, to hide the scarred boy from Shechem. With his new identity firmly in place, Joseph throws himself into his work with a relentless, almost feverish energy. He's no longer just Joseph. He is Zaphanath-Paneah, the Prime Minister of Egypt. He crisscrosses the entire land, a whirlwind of activity and purpose. Under his command, a network of granaries, some as large as cities, rises from the desert floor. He is a master of logistics, a brilliant administrator, a visionary leader. The 7 years of plenty are a blur of building, gathering, and organizing. He is the engine driving the mightiest empire on earth. This is a classic picture of high-functioning trauma. On the outside, he is the absolute embodiment of success. He has wealth beyond measure, power second only to Pharaoh, and the respect of an entire nation. Crowds bow when his chariot passes. But look closer. Look into his eyes. There's a distance there, a void that all the grain in Egypt cannot fill. Extreme success, this kind of obsessive workaholism, is often a trauma response. It's a sophisticated coping mechanism. It's a way to stay so relentlessly busy, so consumed by a mission, that you never have a quiet moment to feel the ache in your own soul. He's running an empire to avoid the ruins of his own heart. The grander the project, the bigger the distraction. He's building storehouses for grain, but the real project is building a life so full there's no room left for grief. Then, in the midst of this whirlwind, his life takes a personal turn. Asenath gives him children, 2 sons. This should be a moment of pure joy, a chance to build the family he lost. But the names he chooses for them are a devastating window into his soul. They are not names of joy, but of a strategy. His firstborn, he names Man. In Hebrew, this name means, God has made me forget. Forget? What? Joseph tells us himself. God has made me forget all my trouble and all my father's house. This is it. This is the core of his coping strategy. Forced amnesia. Suppression. He believes he is healed because he has managed to forget. He thinks that by not thinking about the pit, the betrayal, the slavery, he has moved on. His second son is named Ephraim, which means twice fruitful, because, as he says, God has made me fruitful in the land of my affliction. It's a testament to his success, but it's a success built on a foundation of denial. He has built a palace on top of a graveyard. He's convinced himself that the past is dead and buried. But modern psychology and ancient wisdom agree on one thing. You cannot bury trauma dead. You can only bury it alive, where it continues to breathe and stir and wait. He hasn't dealt with the betrayal. He's just wallpapered over it with power and prestige. And Berisona is coming on the door of his throne room. The 7 years of plenty, just as Joseph foretold, come to an end. The silos are full, but the fields are now barren. The famine begins its slow, devastating crawl across the entire region. The sky over Egypt is brass, and far away, in the land of Canaan, the same sky hangs over a desperate family. The famine doesn't respect borders. Back in his father's house, a house he has tried so hard to forget, the cupboards are bare. A father, old and grieving, and 10 brothers, older and haunted, ear whispers. Rumors of a wise vizier in Egypt who saved his nation, who has grain to sell. They don't know his name. They don't know his face. Joseph thinks he is safe, hidden behind his Egyptian mask, protected by his power and his carefully constructed new life. But the test he isn't prepared for, the past he tried to bury, is about to walk into his court and bow before him. The brothers arrive in Egypt. 10 of them. They walk into the grand throne room of the second most powerful man on the planet, desperate for grain to save their families from starvation. And as they enter, they bow low, their faces to the ground. In that single differential motion, A dream from 22 years ago explodes into reality. The sheaves of wheat, the stars, the sun, and the moon, it's all happening. But the man on the throne, the man they are bowing to, doesn't feel victorious. He freezes. Modern psychology gives us a name for this. It's called a somatic response. Trauma isn't just a memory in the mind. It's a wound stored in the body, in the very cells and nervous system. For Joseph, seeing the faces of his abusers, the men who threw him in a pit and sold him into slavery's not a distant memory. It's a live wire. His body doesn't know it's 22 years later. It only knows the threat is back. His heart pounds. His palms sweat. The fight-or-flight response floods his system, and he chooses to fight. He speaks to them harshly, in a foreign Egyptian tongue through an interpreter, creating a wall between them. "You are spies," he accuses. This isn't calculated cruelty. It's a visceral, protective reaction. It's the wounded boy inside the powerful man screaming for a shield. He is putting distance between himself and the source of his deepest pain. He recognizes them instantly. He sees the older, weathered faces of Reuben, Judah, Levi, but they don't recognize him. How could they? They look at this powerful Egyptian ruler, dressed in fine linen, speaking a foreign language, and see nothing of the terrified 17-year-old boy they stripped and sold. They don't recognize the boy they destroyed or the magnificent man he was forced to become. The disconnect is staggering. He knows everything. They know nothing. He is a ghost from their past, standing right in front of them, and they are completely blind to it. The pressure is too much. The carefully constructed identity of Zaphenath-Paneah, the Egyptian vizier, begins to fracture under the weight of this moment. The flood of memories, the sight of his brothers, the resurfacing of a lifetime of pain, it overwhelms him. He has to get out. He abruptly turns, leaving the throne room, and seeks a private chamber. And there, behind a curtain, away from the eyes of his court and his brothers, the most powerful man in Egypt breaks. He weeps. Not just a few tears, but a deep, gut-wrenching sob that carries the agony of decades. The loneliness, the betrayal, the fear, the loss of his father, the yearning for his home, it all comes pouring out. This is a powerful, humanizing moment. We see the stark contrast between his public power and his private pain. This isn't just a scene of grief. It's a portrait of a man caught between two worlds. Out there, in the throne room, he is the judge. He is Zaphenath-Paneah, the savior of Egypt. But in here, alone, he is Joseph, the lost son, the betrayed brother. After he purges the initial wave of emotion, he performs a ritual he must have perfected over years. He washes his face, composing his features, putting the mask of the stoic Egyptian ruler back on. The mask is cracking, but it's not broken yet. He has to go back out there. He has a plan. He returns to the throne room, his face an unreadable stone. He puts them in prison for 3 days. Can you imagine their terror? Confined in an Egyptian jail, accused of espionage, with the fate of their families hanging in the balance. It gives them time to think, to stew in their fear. It also gives Joseph time to refine his strategy. On the 3rd day, he brings them out and changes the terms. "I fear God," he tells them. A subtle, ironic hint at his true identity. He offers a path to prove their honesty. One of them will stay behind as a hostage, while the others go back with grain and return with their youngest brother. Benjamin. Why Benjamin? Is this revenge? Is he trying to inflict the same pain on his father that they inflicted? No. This is not about revenge. This is about restoration. Joseph is running a diagnostic test. A simulation. He is recreating the conditions of his own tragedy to see if anything has changed. Think about the family dynamic. Joseph was the favorite son, the child of Jacob's beloved wife, Rachel. After his disappearance, who became the new favorite? Benjamin, Rachel's only other child. He is the new object of their father's affection and, potentially, the new target of their jealousy. Joseph needs to know the answer to one crucial question. Are they still the same men who would sacrifice a brother out of envy? Will they abandon Benjamin to save their own skins, just as they abandoned him? He's testing their character, their growth, their remorse. He cannot reveal himself, he cannot reconcile. He cannot bring his family back together until he knows if they are worthy of trust. Forgiveness might be free, but trust must be earned. He needs proof that the past will not repeat itself. He loads their donkeys with grain, but he also secretly returns their money to their sacks. It's a move designed to heighten their fear and confusion on the journey home. He then selects Simeon to be the one who stays behind, bound before their eyes. Why Simeon? Perhaps because he was the second oldest, a ringleader in the plot against him. A specific, pointed message. He sends them away, a whirlwind of fear, confusion, and a glimmer of hope. They have the grain to survive for now, but they face an impossible choice. Return to Egypt and risk their beloved youngest brother, or let Simeon rot in an Egyptian prison. The stage is set for the final exam. Joseph has laid the trap, and he's about to push his brothers to their absolute limit. He needs to see what is truly in their hearts before he can ever reveal what is in his... The test has just begun. The brothers think they're finally free. They've passed Joseph's tests, secured the grain, and are heading home with Benjamin, safe and sound. The long nightmare, they believe, is over, but it's not. As they travel, Joseph's men overtake them. There's been a theft, they claim. Joseph's personal silver cup is missing. A search is conducted, and sack by sack, the men come up empty. Relief washes over them until they reach the last one, Benjamin's sack. And there it is, the gleaming silver cup, planted by Joseph himself. The brothers are dragged back to the palace, their hearts sinking. This is it. This is the moment they have dreaded. Joseph, the powerful Egyptian lord, confronts them. He is cold, furious. He declares that the one in whose sack the cup was found will become his slave. Benjamin the youngest, the new favorite son, the one they promised their father they would protect with their lives. This is the ultimate test. Joseph is replaying history. Will they do it again? Will they sacrifice Rachel's other son, just as they sacrificed him? Will they go home to their father and say another beloved son has been lost to a wild animal? The air is thick with tension. The brothers are paralyzed by fear and guilt. Their past has caught up to them in the most devastating way imaginable. And then, something extraordinary happens. Judah, the very brother who suggested selling Joseph into slavery all those years ago, steps forward. He begins to speak, his voice trembling but firm. He recounts the entire story to this powerful Egyptian, laying his family's soul bare. He tells of their grieving father, of the promise they made to bring Benjamin back. He describes the devastation Jacob would feel, a grief that would surely send him to his grave. And then, he makes an offer that changes everything. Let me stay, he pleads. Let me be your slave in his place, and let the boy go back with his brothers. This is more than just words. This is repentance in action. The selfish brother who once sold his own flesh and blood for 20 pieces of silver now offers his own body, his own freedom, his own life, to save his youngest brother. He is willing to become the sacrificial lamb to protect the flock. Watching Joseph finally sees it. This isn't the same group of jealous, hateful boys who threw him in a pit. They have changed. The guilt they carried has transformed them. Judah's plea is the final piece of evidence. The cycle of betrayal is broken. And for Joseph, the dam of emotion he has held back for 2 decades is about to burst. He can't hold it in any longer. The sight of his brother, willing to sacrifice himself for another, shatters the wall around his heart. He shouts for all the Egyptians, all his guards and servants, to leave the room. He needs to be alone with these men, his brothers. And then, the Bible says he wept so loudly that the entire palace, even the Egyptians outside, could hear him. This isn't just crying. Psychologically, this is what's known as a somatic release. For 22 years, Joseph's body has been a vessel of trauma. Think of the cortisol, the adrenaline, the constant state of vigilance. From the pit, to Potiphar's house, to the prison, to the palace. His nervous system has been on high alert. The fear of his brothers, the grief of losing his father, the pain of betrayal. all been stored deep within his tissue. Now, in this moment of profound catharsis, it's all leaving his body at once. Decades of stored pain are being released in a flood of sound and tears. The brothers are frozen in terror. This powerful Egyptian ruler, who holds their lives in his hands, is having a complete breakdown in front of them. They don't understand. They brace for the worst. Is this rage? Is this madness? And then, through the sobs, he speaks the 4 words that turn their world upside down. I am Joseph. Imagine the shock, the dawning horror. This isn't just some unforgiving Egyptian official. This is the brother they sold, the brother they left for dead, the one they've been lying about for over 20 years. He's alive, and he's standing right in front of them with the power of a king. Their first thought isn't joy, it's sheer terror. He has every right to destroy them. The bill for their sin has finally come due. The Bible says they were so terrified they couldn't even speak. But Joseph doesn't strike. He doesn't condemn. Instead, he says, "Come closer to me." He sees their fear, and his first instinct is to comfort them. He embraces them, one by one. The brothers, who once couldn't speak a kind word to him, are now wrapped in his arms, their tears mixing with his. It is a scene of impossible forgiveness. A moment where a lifetime of pain begins to dissolve in an instant. But the true miracle is what Joseph says next. As his brothers are reeling from guilt and shock, he offers them a completely new way of seeing everything that happened. He delivers what might be the most powerful and transformative sentence in the entire Old Testament. He looks at them and says, "You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good." Let that sink in. This isn't just forgiveness. This is a profound cognitive reframe. Joseph is not excusing their sin. He's not saying, "Oh, it wasn't that bad." He's acknowledging the evil they intended, but he is refusing to let their evil be the final word on his story. He's changing the entire narrative of his life. In that moment, he stops seeing himself as a victim of his brothers and starts seeing himself as an agent of God's grander purpose. He reframes his identity. He wasn't just a boy betrayed. He was a son sent ahead. He wasn't a slave in Potiphar's house. He was a student in the school of administration. He wasn't forgotten in a dungeon. He was being positioned for his destiny. The pit was not his grave. It was a doorway. He realizes he wasn't sent into asterisk prison. He was sent through asterisk prison to preserve life for the entire world. This is the climax of his healing. By reframing his trauma, he takes back his power. The pain no longer defines him. God's purpose does. He sees the golden thread that God has woven through even the darkest, most painful parts of his journey. He sees how every betrayal, every injustice, every lonely night was repurposed by a sovereign hand for a greater good he could have never imagined. He looks at the men who caused his deepest wounds and sees them not just as perpetrators, but as unwitting instruments in a divine masterpiece. In Japan, there is an art form called Kintsugi. When a piece of pottery breaks, they don't throw it away. They meticulously piece it back together, and they fill the cracks with lacquer mixed with powdered gold. The belief is that the object is more beautiful for having been broken. The scars are not something to hide. They are the most beautiful part of the story. They tell of resilience, of healing, of a history that has been redeemed. Joseph's life is a work of The breaks were deep, the fractures were violent. He was shattered by his family. But God, the master artist, did not discard the broken pieces. He gathered them, and with the gold of his divine purpose, he mended Joseph, making him stronger and more beautiful than he ever was before. The places where he was broken became the very source of his strength, his wisdom, and his compassion. Joseph's story is our story. It's a promise that trauma does not have to be the end of the narrative. You can be betrayed, abandoned, forgotten, and broken, and still end up whole. You can be thrown in a pit, and it can feel like a grave. But this story screams across the centuries that the pit is not your final destination. It might just be your preparation. The brokenness you've experienced does not disqualify you. In the hands of God, it qualifies you. It becomes the raw material for a story of redemption that will astound you. The scars you carry are not signs of your shame. They are marks of your survival, and they will become beacons of hope for others. Joseph's final posture is not one of bitterness, but of peace. We see him looking out over the land of Egypt, the man who saved the world, reunited with his family, his heart at rest. He trusted the author of his story, even when he couldn't read the next page. And that is the invitation for all of us, to believe that even in our darkest chapters, a loving hand is at work, intending it all for an unimaginable good. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the life of Joseph. We hope his story has brought you hope. Follow us for more content that explores these timeless truths.